Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is a new episode. This is the book Steam Trains, A World Portrait. This one's going to be called Learning International Steam Engines. You know, in this very context, in the hand and grip of myself. It's so several pages long, this one, but I will, so there will be some episodes. Some new episodes will contain of this learning international steam engines with Foxy, which is me. It won't be every new episode where it'll be learning about international steam engines from this railway book of mine, which I've had since childhood. Both my grandparents got me this book when I was a little boy, and I've always thanked them for it, very, very much so. So, what was I going to say? So, yes, just to make explicitly clear and completely explicitly clear, this reading about the international steam engines in this episode, as is the debut of it, it will not be every episode. Every new episode will not be of learning international steam engines with me through this book. It'll be most episodes. There'll be some new episodes featuring this, sometimes one after the other, but mostly new episodes will feature stories of all kinds of things, new stories or stories I've spoken of before or haven't spoken of for a long time, be that of a sequel, comeback and all that. But here we are on this next topic, just to tell you all. And shall we begin, shall we? But sorry if I got lost for words a moment ago, as my friend would remind me of it. For the right reasons, of course, Okay, now we're at the content. Contents, introduction, no. I haven't done any reading yet. Okay, Steam Trains, A World Portrait. It is popularly supposed that the world's first steam locomotive was Stephenson's rocket. In truth, however, the first example appeared exactly a quarter of a century before this in 1804, when Richard Trevithick's engine emerged from a South Wales ironworks. Yet it was with the rocket that certain basic principles were established. It had a multi-flue tube boiler, used exhaust steam to create a draught on the fire, and had a direct drive from the cylinders. In these fundamentals, the steam locomotive was to change little throughout its entire existence, despite the aspirations of innumerable individuals and design teams over subsequent years. The advent of steam traction enabled industrial development, then in its infancy, to grow and spread with much greater speed than previously. At last, raw materials could be conveyed quickly and efficiently from source to manufacturer, and from manufacturer to customer, while ordinary people found they were no longer confined to the small villages and market towns in which they were raised. In short, the social and industrial revolution thus wrought by the age of steam ensures it a fundamental place in world history. This is not propagandize for steam as much as for the transport system it created. The steam locomotive does have inherent weaknesses that arguably render it unsuitable for conditions in many countries, especially the developed ones. However, forsaking the railways altogether and basing national economies upon road transportation is untenable. The road system demands limitless financial resources in order to sustain it, while constituting a wanton dissipation of energy supplies. Future generations may well regard an overwhelming dependence upon road transport as one of the biggest acts of folly committed during the 20th century. During its development, the steam locomotive diversified into tens of thousands of different types. This incredible variety was due to two prime factors. Firstly, railway systems, large and small, the world over invariably wanted their own designs, and secondly, throughout its entire evolution, locomotive designers were under constant pressure to enlarge and improve their products in the face of an unremitting demand for heavier and faster trains. Another factor that ensured variety was the absence of any agreed international design, such as occurs with aeroplanes and road vehicles and other major forms of transport. Although heavy standardization was achieved in a few countries, cross-fertilizations were few, and when they did occur, were invariably due to war operations or reparation packages following a war. Of course, the private locomotive builders, particularly those specializing in industrial locomotives, had their own ranges of standard designs, but even these were varied to suit the needs or fantasies of the recipient. Also remarkable is the fact that few condemned engines were ever sold to other countries. Although international differences engaged sometimes inhibited such maneuvers, there were still many instances where such sales might have taken place, but due to constantly changing operating conditions, the very thing that fostered diversity in the first place, such actions were usually rendered inappropriate. The largest class of steam locomotive in world history was the Russian E010, which totaled some 14,000 examples, and after these came the German Kriegslokomotive 210, the Third Reich's workhorse of World War II. In basic form, these totaled more than 6,000 examples. Teutonic precision had ensured earlier standardizations, and the Prussian G8080 and P8460 numbered some 5,000 and 3,000 examples respectively. More recently, the Chinese have achieved comparable figures with their QJ Class 210-2 having over 4,000 units in service. These are all dramatic exceptions. However, as the vast majority of designs produced consisted of much smaller numbers, with an average of less than 50 examples per type, steam locomotives can be grouped into 6 basic categories. According to the duties they were designed to perform in order of evolution, The categories are as follows: industrial, freight, express passenger, shunting, suburban, and cross-country mixed traffic. Trains within the industrial category are quite distinct from any mainline operation, being confined to large industrial concerns such as mines, docks, collieries, iron and steel works, quarries, and power stations. Typically, these were small tank engines, but there were many fascinating exceptions to the rule, as the following pages reveal. The mainline freight locomotive evolved in 1825 when locomotion was used on the Stockton and Darlington Railway. Freight haulers were, by definition, tender engines, which ranged from 060s to 080s in their formative years to huge 210-4s and even larger mallets at the end of the steam age. Most were characterized by relatively small wheels, designed to provide maximum adhesion when starting with heavy loads. Express passenger engines were even more highly specialized, and they had large wheels, which were necessary to keep the moving parts running at moderate speeds. The type began with the singles, gravitated to 240s and 440s by the end of the 19th century, reaching its ultimate in most parts of the world with the Pacific 462. Express passenger engines were even more highly specialized, and they had large wheels, which were necessary to keep the moving parts running at moderate speeds. The type began with the singles, gravitated to 240s and 440s by the end of the 19th century. Shunting engines evolved with the marshalling yards and large sidings, which were established once railway networks had developed and an interchange of traffic movements became necessary. Like their industrial relations, they were invariably tank engines designed for maximum adhesion and easy maneuverability, although many downgraded and outwinded freight engines gravitated into shunting yards in later years. After the main lines had been built, suburban and cross-country locomotives arrived to service the urban districts around the areas of concentrated manufacturing and commercial activity. Such suburban services were best worked by tank engines, as these were able to run easily in either direction and had small wheels in order to start rapidly after their frequent station stops. Cross-country engines served the secondary interconnecting lines that joined up the main arteries, as well as the branch lines built around the same time. These engines were often similar to those used on suburban work, although in later years many downgraded passenger types found a further lease of active life on these secondary lines. Mixed traffic was primarily a manifestation of the 20th century, when freight trains had increased in speed and rationalization with motive power fleets demanded engines suitable for a wide range of duties. Such engines ultimately filled most requirements on many of the world's railways, with the exception of the fastest passenger trains and the heaviest of freight hauls. Examples of these categories remain active across the world as the revolutionary discovery of steam in the 19th century Britain was so far-reaching and its consequences so traumatic that its vestiges could never be eradicated in a few years of modernization. Soon, the steam locomotive will have been a prime mover in the world for more than 2 centuries, since many years have yet to elapse in some countries before the fires are dropped for the last time. Once everywhere that was anywhere had steam railways, and the veterans linger on in the direct confrontation with today's microchip age. It is to these survivors that last true workhorses of the Industrial Revolution that this book is devoted. Sadly, their numbers dwindle daily, and always at the cost of diversity and antiquity. For although the steam locomotive's survival into the 21st century is assured, this will inevitably be in its more standardized forms, for sure, should it never come back to the forefront of the world's transport systems. It will not be in the same beloved multiplicity of forms that grace these pages. I think we'll leave it at that for now, but we'll certainly continue it before too long. But yes, thanks everybody indeed for watching. My apologies if I've not read a heck of a lot of pages. But next episode, certainly in the next Learning International Steam Engines, I will certainly read more pages and do more coverage on the very topic for one of the future Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats series. And also, for those of you who are interested in watching episode 105 of the very series, even though it's well over 2 hours long, the link to the episode will be found in the description below, or episode 106 too. The link to that will also be found in the description below for those of you who are interested in seeing them. Thanks everybody indeed for watching, and I shall certainly see you in the very next episode. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy.